Hello, and thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. My name is Nicole, and today I am talking about wounded men dating. Wounded men dating. And I dedicate this message to my sons, as well as family members who I have yet to meet, but I know one day they're going to come across the wrong one in their dating. The wrong one who is going to turn that nice, kind, gentle spirit into a man who is guarded, who is cautious, who is not going to be as generous and sweet and wonderful as he once was. Wounded men. Wounded men were once wounded boys. There was the mother, there was the father, there were family members and others who were once trusted. The little boy trusted the people around him to take good care of him. And then, almost in a blink of an eye, his world comes crumbling down. Now, we don't need to get into the details as to what some of these boys who are now men have gone through. Some of their stories are quite disturbing. It isn't any wonder why they feel the way they feel. But one doesn't have to stay wounded. One doesn't have to be that individual who goes out there and hurts someone because you were hurt. When you are that, dare we say it, lucky one who ends up dating a man who has been wounded, you end up being like the nurse trying to comfort him, bandage up his wounds. He may not tell you one thing about what happened to him back in the day, but you can tell by the way he talks, by the way he walks, the insecurities, the jealousy, the arguments, overprotective. And some women get turned on by this sort of thing. They're like, that's okay. I know he's broken, but I can fix him. I know that he has his impatience and his mean-spiritedness and his just ugly ways, but that's okay because I've been through worse. So the wounded woman, what does she do? She attracts and will fight to keep the wounded man around. He is exhibiting all the signs that he does not want what you want. Maybe he doesn't want to be engaged and then eventually married. Maybe he doesn't want to be a father. Maybe he doesn't want to relocate. Maybe he doesn't want to buy a home. Maybe he doesn't want to get a job. Maybe he doesn't want to take care of his children from that last relationship. Maybe he doesn't want to take care of the children in the current relationship. But whatever the case may be, he is showing that he is wounded in some way. Whether we call it a specific personality disorder or not, this man has repeatedly hurt people. He has a track record. And just because he hasn't hurt you or someone that you know yet doesn't mean that he won't. Wounded people will strike. They will, as I've said in other audio, hurt you. When they are in denial, it's even worse. There's nothing wrong with me. What are you talking about? So what, I yell sometimes. So what, I kick. I shove. When I get mad, I throw something up against the wall. There's nothing wrong with me. There's something wrong with you. So he'll reverse. He'll project. He'll deny. He'll blame. He'll shame. He'll cut you down. And then smile and laugh about it and say, for some of them, I was just joking. Now, for some of you all, you're not even on that Lord Jesus, that phase or stage, if you will, of engagement or marriage yet. I'm just dating. Yeah, you're just dating and you see all of this stuff playing out slowly but surely. For some of these men, they haven't gotten to the place of yelling at a woman yet, because he knows, he has a track record. He knows that when he starts that yelling, he's going to shake the woman up. She's going to get nervous. She might end up saying or doing something that makes matters even worse because she's worried, she's fearful. Her anxiety has been raised. So he's going to be calm in the beginning. He's going to be a gentle spirit. He's going to be what? Some of us, we've used the word charming. Some of them have their selfish interests. We talked about narcissistic personality disorder. Some of them, it's not about narcissism. It's about something on a whole nother level. And that something, there may be a label for it, but then there may not be, because he's so mixed up with so many different things because he's gone through so much. So he was that child at one point. That boy that was in that house that he's going to take you back to in his conversations about his childhood. You need to listen, and listen closely. Maybe you didn't listen so closely the first time. When he tells that story again, you're listening for information that says, what am I up against? That's going to answer that question, I should say. What am I going to have to put up with or deal with? Because every relationship nowadays, it boils down to that. What are you willing to put up with? This is a wounded man who was once a wounded boy, and he's going to take you back to his childhood. He may tell you things about how he didn't have. A lot of men like to talk about their lack, just like a lot of women too. But this message isn't about the women. It's about the wounded man, because we got a lot of women who are single or divorced, and they're out there, and they think God's not paying attention. And they're compromising their bodies, and they're compromising their faith, and they think God's not paying attention. So you get, or you reap what you sow. Okay? So somebody inherited a wounded man, or a series of wounded men, and he is taking you back to his childhood. He's telling you about how he didn't have this, he didn't have that. He's telling you about his shortcomings. He's telling you about the lies that was told to him. He's telling you about the abuse that took place in the household, whether to him or with others. He's got some things that kind of rub you the wrong way. You might label those things that he shares with you as weird or strange or crazy. And then, of course, there are those other things that he talks about, the things that you might be able to relate to because you did experience some of those things when you were growing up. And so there's this commonality. There's a bond that is starting to develop, at least so you think. But a wounded man, though, he will look for a nurse every now and again, because he is trying to make sense of what he's going through. Because there's those different phases in our lives where we start analyzing who, what, when, where, how, why. And why are we the way we are? Okay. And then he has this way of resenting the nurse that he has attracted. I don't need your help. You can put those bandages away. Get away from me with all of that. You see, he has a shift in mood. He doesn't want to talk now. He doesn't want to share. But all before, he was okay with talking about this or talking about that. Well, he's not going to keep talking about it. For some men, you get that one time only to glean as much information as you possibly can. It's usually during the dating phase. Once they get to know you, once they see what your weaknesses are, then they start to recoil a bit. They're not going to share as much. If they see that they're turning you off with their stories, they're definitely not going to tell you more stories. If they don't like how they feel talking to you about what took place or what continues to take place, then guess what? They, once again, are not going to be so open. So here you are listening, and you're just trying to make sense of what all he's telling you. And what you've determined is that for some of you all, you're looking at the way he looks. You're looking at the car he drives. You're looking at the money in his bank account, if you do have access to the bank account at some point. Okay, of course, not in the early dating phase. But there's ways of seeing what kind of bank account he's rolling with by the way he spends money. And those that ain't got much, they're not spending too much money. Okay? And then those that do have their share of wealth, they too, depending on how often they date, they too are a bit miserly. Okay? So at the end of the day, you once again are paying attention, right? So he may have been wounded physically, mentally, spiritually, sexually as a child, grew into a teen, had some more abuses, traumas, dramas, grew into a young adult, told you his share of heartbreak, upset, talked about once again lack because the money just wasn't right and I couldn't seem to make it. Talked about how he used this one and used that one. This one had a car, this one had a house, this one had... So the pimp, player, hustler, he is going to almost brag about some of the things that he did, whether to you or to your brother or to your cousin or to your nephew. But some other male is going to peep his game. And as you're getting all of this information, once again, you're making a determination whether or not this is somebody who you want to go the distance with. Because remember, he's wounded and his scars and those things that have yet to heal are going to sooner or later trickle into your neck of the woods. It's going to be those things that he's going to expect you to bring some healing to. But some of you all, you say, I'm not God. Exactly. But the man who is not close to God, who has no reverence to God, who could care less about God, he's going to look to you as a God, even though he'll never say that. He's going to put you in a position that you really don't want to be in. You're going to want to come back as a believer, especially. You're going to want to come back with, but that's a job for God. And I'm sorry, I can't be everything to you. And he don't want to hear that because he is out on the prowl for the woman who's going to be like a God, even though he never says that. The wounded man is looking for the nurse. He's looking for the social worker. He's looking for the lawyer. He's looking for the doctor. He's looking for the one with the good credit. He's looking for any woman who is going to be of some benefit to him. Now, there are those wounded men who are looking for men. Okay, we're going to shift gears a little bit. Okay. And if he had disappointing experiences in his same-sex connections, relationships, some of these men are going to trickle over into the hetero world. Now, things get a bit complicated because not only is he coming with the baggage from the women he may have been involved with back in the day or what have you, or girls, but he's also coming in with the baggage that he received from his same-sex lovers. Okay? Now, wrap your head around that one. You can't be the butcher, the baker, and the candlestick maker. There's going to be times where he's going to be expecting something from you that you are ill-equipped to handle. He's going to want you to be something to him that, once again, hey, that's not my cup of tea. I'm not a part of that world. I'm sorry, I can't identify with that. And he may be a bit disgruntled, upset, may even call you all sorts of names. Because simply put, by design, your mind don't think that way. Your body don't react a certain way, right? But you got some folks that they've gone through their share of dysfunctional ways, practices, relationships, connections, and they want you to co-sign on it. They want you to be okay with it. They want you to be accepting of it. And when you raise a standard, when you say that's not my way, that is when all hell breaks loose. Because now you're going to start to see this other side that comes out. And the Lord himself is letting you know. But some women are so caught up in what a man looks like. He's almost too good to be true. Well, he just might be. I can't believe I attracted such a good-looking man. Well, you see what I mean? You start to think, yeah, wait a minute. Why? Wait a minute. I never attract men that look quite like this. What's going on? You see, There are those things that pop up early on during that dating phase that so many women dismiss, and wounded men cry. Yes, they do. Broken men get upset very easily. Angry men will threaten or put their paws on you sooner or later. Men who are crazy making will drive you crazy with all of their questions, with all of their accusations, with all of their talk. Does he ever shut up? Prideful men, selfish men, they show up and guess what they expect? They expect a slave. They expect a slave. You're seeing that unfold in media right now with some of those men. They were after the women and they got what they wanted. Some of those other men were after the little boys, little girls. They got what they wanted. Then they decide, well, maybe I want to be low key. I want to do what's right. But the demons of the past have a way of coming back around. And they play a part in their present day. And sometimes we are, as I've said in another audio, we're nothing more than characters in their movies and their fantasies. I don't really have the love for you, the man says, because I never really experienced what true love is. And I tend to be cold-hearted. And yes, I got a track record of being a womanizer, but I'm trying to make a change. Well, while he's trying to make a change, he should be doing it alone, not with you. Some women can't handle all of what a man puts upon them. A wounded man puts a lot. And so they end up going right back into being the wounded women that God called them out of. She was on her way toward healing until he showed up. Come on, some of us, we watch some women go from being very strong, got their job, got their house, got everything going for them. Then they let a wounded man into their bedroom. They let a wounded man into their bank account. They let a wounded man do so-called service for them. And now all they can do is think about him, wonder where he's at, wondering if he's doing this, that, and the other. Wait a minute, where's God? You once had God in your life, but now you can't eat, you can't sleep without thinking about that wounded man. Some of these women, they treat these men like they would a stray animal. They open up their door, feed them, okay? Nurture them, give them whatever they want, whenever they want. Once the man is looking good, feeling good, smelling good, out the hood, now he's starting to feel himself, so to speak. He's starting to get cocky and confident. So I can make it plain for some of you all. Like, what's she talking about? Yeah, it's street terms. But he is on his way towards somebody else. Might be back into that world of the same sex or some other kind of sex. It might be simply with another woman that makes him feel more like a man rather than a boy. Yeah, sometimes women, once they realize that a man is broken, he's wounded, his mother hurt him, the father abused him, or what have you, they turn into like a mother. Oh, well, you know what? Now that I heard all of this, now that I saw how your mother was this, that, and the other, that's okay, baby. I'm going to take care of you. And then that take care turns into control. Where were you? What were you doing? I'm a grown ASS man. What you talking about? You don't tell me what to do. Well, I'm telling you. Matter of fact, you need to buy this and take care of that. And I'm not going to be taking care of no man. Wait a minute. But you did, though, when you opened up your door. You did when you listened to my sob stories. You did when you bought me this and bought me that. Now you want to start throwing this up about what you don't want to take care of? Yeah, I am a grown ASS man, and I'm going to go ahead on and I'm going to do what I need to do. And everything gets twisted, gets messy, gets ugly. Nobody's operating in love at that point. Remember, Early on, he was sharing and sharing some more. Then he realized, wait a minute, I got to stop sharing so much. That's not even my way. So he starts to recoil. Then he goes from recoiling to now he's working on himself and what he wants to do, how he wants to do it. He's going to take that woman for a ride, depending on what type of exposure he's had from them uncles and fathers and whoever else before him, mama's boyfriends. And then eventually he's going to kick the woman out, so to speak, out of his mind, out of his car, or if he has a house and he brought her in, he going to kick her out. Or he going to go off and he going to cheat, whether with the same sex or somebody else. All of this goes on with these wounded men time and time again. And you, on the outside looking in, you can only say but so much to that woman who wants to play the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker, the nurse, the mother. You know, I want to be everything to him. You can only say but so much, because once she has that mind to take care of that man and be that God in his life that God is supposed to be, first and foremost, she's not going to listen to us. She's not going to do what is right. She's going to continue to be in this cycle of, I'm in love with this guy. No, I'm in like. Oh, I think we're going to get married. No, we're not going to get married. I think we're going to be together, but I don't know. He's questionable. She's going to keep being caught up in this cycle because there's something on the inside of her that it makes her feel good. It's familiar to take care of a man, to coddle a man, to bring a man into a household like a stray animal, or to treat him like a son rather than a man. And so when God shows us in so many different ways, I mean, he will use another woman. He'll, to talk some sense to us. He'll use a movie. He'll use a sermon at the church. He'll use so many different things to show us what type of position we put ourselves in, or that man systematically put us in, that is unhealthy, that's dysfunctional. And when he shows us, that's not when we're supposed to get an attitude and get, all defensive and talk about, you don't know what you're talking about, or get distant from God. No, you see it for what it is. And as much as it may hurt you to have to let go of a wounded man because he's dragging you through the mud, you got to do just that. You understand? Wounded men are for God. They're not for the women who, I just want to nurse him back to good health. They're not for them. They're not for the women who, I'm so desperate, I just need a man. Come on now. Oh, like a crackhead needing crack. No, Lord Jesus. But wounded men, once again, are for God. And a man who recognizes that he's wounded, he should not be out here being a pimp player and hustler. He needs to be focusing on himself. This is my world right now. My world and only my world. No, I don't have room for you in it right now. I got to get my finances together. I got to get my head right. I got to get my body right. Some of them, they ended up contracting all sorts of diseases. So they really shouldn't be out here on the prowl. They are supposed to be taking care of their bodily issues. Some of them, they know that they're too tired to do too much of anything due to the weight gain. You're supposed to be working on that, not working on your next line to pull some female. You see? Some of them, they got addictions to porn. That's what distracts them from the hurt inside. Addictions to alcohol, drugs, smoking, gambling, you name it. There's no room for you when you are not that one that's down for all of that. That is in like Flynn when it comes to all of that. There's no room for you, Christian. Supposed to be a Christian. Why would you even open up your door to all of that when you know I can't stand a man who spends up his money like that and then wants to play like he can't help with this and that? And I can't stand a man who always smoking. And I can't stand a man who don't take care of his body and got the nerve to want to talk about somebody smelling and he got an odor. I mean, So I don't like all of that. Well, if you don't like all of that, then why are you settling? Ooh, Jesus. Why are you settling when the God that gave you life, the God that gave you wisdom, the God that gave you an anointing, one who is supposed to be about his business, why would you settle for a wounded man? Why wouldn't you be like that sister or even a mother, okay, in Christ? Why can't you be that one that ushers that man towards some healing, towards some health, towards some hope? But no, some of these women, they are doing nothing more than sending these men straight to hell. Your attempt to heal, your attempt to cure, your attempt to play God is what is keeping you from being close to the one true God. You do know that Lucifer tried to do that sort of thing. Take over. Be like God. And time again, we got these women who, I'm right. I'm always right. They act that way with their children. They acted that way with their exes. And now along comes a wounded man who doesn't suspect that he got himself one crazy making woman who she believes herself to be something special. And so she ends up dragging him through the mud, because she realizes that he is not anything like what she was hoping he would be. He looked good, but he was broken. He appeared like he had some money, but he was broke. He seemed like he had his head on straight, but there was something in his mind that needed to be fixed. Notice that? He looked like he was in good health, but on the inside, there was something that was unraveling. Something that ended up being a disease of sorts. And now that woman is walking around with the disease. See, these are the consequences of sin. You mess around with somebody who is broken, who's scarred, who doesn't want to heal, who doesn't believe that they have anything wrong. You end up inheriting the very things that he has. You end up being under the curse that he's under. Because for some of these men, the reason why they stay in that place of being wounded is because they were disobedient. Some of them know God. Grandma told them about God. Mama told them about God. But yet they continue to be disobedient to the one true God. And so along comes the woman, and the wounded man spots her. And he doesn't recognize all of the traumas and dramas and the consequences of all the things that he's done. And he brings that unsuspecting woman into his life. And now she's fighting the financial wars like he is. And now she is going through the baby mama dramas like he is. And she's going through the other woman or other women or other man. And she's going through the kinky, weird, strange fetishes. And she's going through his addictions. And she's going through everything that God didn't call her to. And that's why some of these women walk around looking just so evil, so upset, so sad, so broken themselves. If she was focused on healing from her wounds, she would have never attracted a broken man. Thank you so much for taking the time out to listen. Please do check the description box for anything that might be of interest. You've been listening to YouTube, NM Enterprise 7. Feel free to like, subscribe, comment. If you feel so moved to give, please do, and thank you.